Zilra adjusted the sleek communicator wrapped around her wrist, glancing at the sprawling human city ahead. The atmosphere was thick, noisy, and chaotic, a stark contrast to the serene orderliness of Valaris 7. She let out a sigh and turned to the human standing awkwardly beside her. "So, Derek, this is Earth?" Her tone was flat, unimpressed. "Yep. Welcome to humanity's finest." "Smog, honking cars, and overpriced coffee," Derek replied with a grin, clearly unaware she wasn't joking when she asked if the air was supposed to taste like metal. "I'm here to understand your kind's sensory intricacies. You'll provide access to the doors, yes?" Zilra's calm expression betrayed the intensity of her mission. "Doors?" Derek blinked.
Yeah.
Sensory doors. Totally. Humans are big on those. I'll open them up for you." He immediately regretted the phrasing but pressed on. "Why don't we start small? You know, like, snacks. Ever heard of ice cream?" "Ice cream." Zilra said it slowly, as if testing the phrase for hidden meaning.
Yeah.
"It's cold, sweet, and probably one of our top 5 inventions. Right next to the internet and pizza," Derek said, waving her toward a food truck. As they reached the cart, Zilra observed the scene, humans laughing, eating, and spilling sticky liquids on themselves. It was all baffling. Derek ordered 2 cones, handed one to her, and took a giant lick of his. Zilra watched him intently, then mimicked his action. Instantly, her body stiffened, and her skin emitted a faint, glowing shimmer. Processing. Sweet. Cold. Melting. Foreign. Her voice flattened as her mind tried to categorize the sensations. Then, out of nowhere, she shuddered violently. "This substance is collapsing in my mouth. Does it always disintegrate this quickly?" Derek burst out laughing.
Yeah.
"That's the point. It's supposed to melt. Relax, Zilra, it's just ice cream." Zilra eyed the remaining scoop suspiciously. "Humans deliberately ingest unstable materials? Fascinating." She cautiously took another bite, shivering but resolute. The pair moved on to a bustling market, where the chaos only multiplied. Zilra's gaze darted between colorful stalls, noisy vendors, and crowds of people bumping into each other. "Explain this," she demanded, gesturing to a vendor tossing dough in the air. "Ah, pizza making. The height of culinary artistry," Derek declared dramatically. "Why must the substance be thrown? Does this enhance its molecular structure?" "Not really. It's just how we do it," Derek said, clearly enjoying her confusion. "Humans seem unnecessarily physical," Zilra noted. "You collide, push, and toss. Is there not a more efficient method?" "That's just life, Zilra. You gotta get your hands dirty sometimes." He smirked. "Metaphorically speaking." Zilra stopped walking. "Metaphors. You rely heavily on these, don't you?" "Pretty much. It's how we roll." Her eyes narrowed. "I've seen no rolling." Derek snorted. "Right. Forget I said that." They passed a stall selling chili peppers, and Derek, clearly feeling mischievous, picked up one for her. "Here. Try this." "What is it?" "An experience," he said, unable to hide his grin. Zilra inspected the pepper, sniffed it, then bit into it without hesitation. For a split second, she appeared unmoved. Then her entire face shifted. Temperature. Rising. Spicy. Intolerable. Her hands flailed, and her skin turned a faint orange. "Water," she shouted, her voice breaking into an unnatural static. Derek, doubled over laughing, handed her a bottle. "Sorry, I couldn't resist." "That's a chili pepper. We eat them for fun." "For fun?" She glared at him. "Humans are self-sabotaging. This explains much about your species' unpredictability." You'll get used to it, he chuckled, slapping her lightly on the shoulder. Zilra stiffened at the contact. You struck me. Is this another form of sensory communication? That was a pat, not a strike, Derek clarified. It's a friendly gesture. She looked at his hand, considering. I see. Physical aggression equates to camaraderie. You're more primitive than I anticipated. Hey. Derek protested. Their walk continued, culminating at a small cafe where Derek ordered coffee. Zilra peered suspiciously into the steaming cup. Why does it emit fumes? It's hot. Try it, but careful, it's strong. She sipped, and her face contorted as the bitter liquid hit her tongue. This is vile. Give it time. Humans are masochists when it comes to coffee. Zilra placed the cup down firmly. Your kind willingly consumes corrosive heat, unstable substances, and fiery poisons. And yet, you endure. Remarkable. That's humanity for you, Derek said proudly. Resilient to a fault. Zilra tilted her head, intrigued despite herself. Perhaps these sensations hold some deeper value. I require further study. You mentioned opening sensory doors? Derek froze, nearly choking on his coffee.
Yeah.
Sure. Plenty more doors to open. You're just getting started. Her gaze sharpened. And this backdoor you referenced earlier. Is it critical to my understanding of human experience? Backdoor? Derek's eyes widened as he realized his earlier slip-up. Oh.
Yeah.
Totally. But, we'll save that for later. Zilra nodded solemnly. Excellent. I look forward to this exploration. Derek groaned internally, already regretting the metaphor. This was going to be a long day. Zilra sat across from Derek in the sensory research lab, her glowing fingertips resting delicately on the sleek table. Around them, human researchers bustled, adjusting screens and checking monitors. Derek leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, his expression an odd mix of pride and apprehension. So, Zilra began, her tone as clinical as ever, you claim this facility will demonstrate your species' capacity for advanced sensory engagement.
Yeah.
Something like that, Derek replied. This is where we really dig deep into human sensations. Cutting-edge stuff. Virtual reality, neural feedback, meditation programs. The whole shebang. Shebang, Zilra repeated. Another metaphor? More or less. He waved it off, motioning to the head researcher. Let's start with VR. It's like a doorway into different worlds. At the mention of a doorway, Zilra's attention sharpened. A simulated sensory door? Fascinating. Proceed. The researcher handed her a lightweight VR headset. She adjusted it over her eyes, the glowing lenses briefly reflecting her intense curiosity. The first simulation began, a tranquil beach scene. Gentle waves lapped at the shore as seagulls cried overhead. Zilra's breath hitched. I feel the ground yielding beneath my feet, she said, her voice tinged with wonder. What is this shifting material? Sand, Derek replied, stifling a grin. It is unstable. How do humans traverse such treacherous terrain? She lifted her feet awkwardly, trying to find balance, nearly toppling over. It's fine. You just get used to it, Derek said, holding her by the arm to steady her. Unacceptable. This environment is defective. The simulation shifted abruptly, transitioning to a roller coaster ride. The sudden jolt and rush of motion caught Zilra off guard. What is happening? She exclaimed, gripping the sides of her chair. You're on a roller coaster. Humans ride these for fun. Fun. Her voice was a mix of disbelief and terror as the simulated track twisted into a steep drop. This is a survival scenario. Do humans intentionally subject themselves to imminent death simulations? Well,
Yeah.
Derek admitted. We like the thrill. As the ride ended, Zilra removed the headset, her glowing skin flickering erratically. This thrill. It activates involuntary neural responses. Heightened respiration, accelerated cardiac function, borderline biological chaos. Yet, you willingly pursue it. Exactly, Derek said. It's called adrenaline. Keeps life exciting. Your species thrives on chaos, Zilra concluded, her tone tinged with reluctant admiration. Your endurance is perplexing. The next demonstration was a meditation program. Zilra was instructed to sit still and focus on her breathing, a concept foreign to her race. Empty my thoughts? Illogical. My cognitive processing must remain active, she protested. Just try it, Derek urged. The program's soothing tones played, and a holographic guide began speaking. Close your eyes. Imagine a door in your mind. Behind it lies peace. A door? Zilra's eyes snapped open. Not a literal one. Derek said quickly. Undeterred, she followed the instructions, visualizing the door. A sensation of warmth spread through her mind, startling her. I feel something. A flicker of emotion, perhaps. See? Told you, Derek said smugly. This is intriguing, she admitted. But insufficient for a comprehensive study. Next, the researchers introduced a neural feedback device, explaining it as a way to simulate tactile sensations. Zilra was skeptical but intrigued. Humans create artificial sensations? Ingenious. Demonstrate. The device was calibrated and placed on her forearm. At first, she felt nothing, then a soft vibration. Her eyes widened as the sensation spread. This is tactile input, she said, her voice soft with amazement. Primitive but effective. I detect pressure, heat, even texture. Remarkable. The researchers increased the intensity slightly, simulating raindrops on her skin. Zilra gasped, her glowing fingertips flickering brighter. Raindrops? Humans endure this? How do you prevent dermal degradation? Derek chuckled. It's just water. It doesn't hurt us. You willingly expose yourselves to elemental onslaughts? Fascinating, she murmured, her focus entirely on the sensations. The demonstration ended, and Zilra removed the device, her expression contemplative. These experiences, they activate dormant neural pathways within me. My species has not explored such stimuli for millennia. Humans are unique. Derek leaned back, arms behind his head. Told you we're full of surprises. Zilra's gaze sharpened. You have yet to explain the backdoor method. You referenced it as a means of accessing hidden sensations. I demand clarification. Derek froze. Oh. It's not, look, it's more of a metaphor. A joke, really. A joke. Zilra tilted her head. Explain. It's? He scratched his neck, clearly struggling. Okay, it's like a secret way to experience something. Like an unconventional approach. Her eyes narrowed. A hidden entry point to sensation? Intriguing. You will demonstrate this method next. Derek began, but the researchers interrupted, calling him to check the equipment. Zilra turned back to the table, her mind racing. A hidden way to explore sensation? The concept was both puzzling and exciting. She resolved to uncover this backdoor herself, no matter how elusive it seemed. Zilra stood in a dimly lit room filled with strange devices, her glowing skin casting faint shadows on the walls. Derek had stepped out for a moment, leaving her alone to explore the equipment. Each device seemed to hum faintly, exuding an air of mystery. She reached out to touch a sleek console, her fingers hovering just above its surface. Human technology is peculiar, she murmured. So tactile, so inviting. A drawer caught her eye, slightly ajar. She pulled it open to reveal an assortment of small objects labeled with cryptic names, massage rollers, heat pads, and something called a therapeutic stimulator. Zilra picked up the last item, studying its sleek, ergonomic design. This appears functional, she muttered, pressing a button. The device vibrated softly in her hand. Her glowing skin flickered in response, an involuntary reaction to the unexpected sensation. Vibration. Oscillating energy waves. Interesting, she noted aloud. Holding the device against her palm, she allowed the gentle pulses to travel up her arm, her expression a mix of curiosity and bewilderment. This stimulation, it mimics a soothing rhythm. Fascinating. Perhaps this is one of the so-called sensory doors. Derek re-entered, holding 2 cups of what humans referred to as smoothies. He stopped mid-step when he saw her experimenting with the stimulator. Zilra? What are you doing? Exploring human sensory tools, she replied, her tone clinical. This device produces a steady vibration. It is quite peculiar. Derek coughed, nearly choking on his drink.
Yeah.
That's not exactly what it's for. What is its purpose, then, she asked, turning the stimulator off and fixing him with a piercing gaze. It's therapeutic, he said awkwardly. For muscle tension. She tilted her head. Your hesitation suggests a hidden meaning. Nope. No hidden meaning, Derek said quickly, trying to steer the conversation away. Let's move on. I brought smoothies. Zilra took the offered cup, examining its vibrant color. This liquid is alive with visual energy. What is its composition? Fruit, ice, yogurt, and a little sugar, Derek explained. She took a cautious sip, her eyes widening slightly. Sweetness combined with a smooth texture. Pleasant. Why do humans consume so many variations of sustenance? Is it not more efficient to ingest a single, balanced formula? Where's the fun in that? Derek countered. Variety is the spice of life. Spice? Zilra repeated, her brow furrowing. Another metaphor? Yep. It means, it keeps things interesting. Zilra nodded slowly, as if filing the phrase away for later analysis. Your species thrives on complexity. Each experience layered, nuanced, unpredictable. That's humans for you, Derek said with a shrug. Complex to the point of being ridiculous. She set the smoothie aside and gestured to another device on the table, a sleek headband with glowing nodes. What is this one's function? Ah, that's a brainwave modulator, Derek said, perking up. It reads your brain activity and syncs it with a calming frequency. Wanna try it? Zilra raised an eyebrow. You intend to alter my neural rhythms? It's perfectly safe, he assured her. She hesitated, then placed the device on her head. The nodes lit up, and a soft hum filled the room. Her glowing skin shifted to a calming shade of blue. I feel a reduction in tension, she said slowly. My neural pathways are less erratic. This is agreeable. Told you, Derek said, grinning. Humans are great at relaxing. Sometimes, anyway. Zilra removed the headband and handed it back to him. Your tools are effective, though unnecessarily intricate. Your kind seems to embrace inefficiency as a form of art. Thanks. I think? Derek replied, scratching his head. Zilra's gaze shifted back to the stimulator she had examined earlier. You continue to avoid discussing the true purpose of certain devices, she said, her tone sharp. Derek held up his hands defensively. Look, not everything needs to be overanalyzed, okay? Sometimes humans just enjoy things for what they are. That is an unsatisfactory explanation, she retorted. I will uncover the truth on my own if necessary. Please don't, Derek muttered under his breath. She ignored him, focusing instead on a small holographic display projecting a diagram of the human nervous system. Her eyes narrowed as she studied it. Your physiology is remarkably complex, she remarked. So many receptors, pathways, and vulnerabilities. Vulnerabilities? Derek repeated, alarmed. Indeed. Pressure points, overstimulation thresholds, even emotional fragility. Your sensory systems are as much a liability as they are an asset. Thanks for the vote of confidence, Derek said dryly. It is not an insult, Zilra replied. Merely an observation. Your species' capacity to endure such overwhelming input is admirable. Perhaps even enviable. Derek blinked, taken aback. Wow. That's probably the closest thing to a compliment I've ever heard from you. Do not become accustomed to it, she said, her lips twitching in what might have been the faintest hint of a smile. He laughed, shaking his head. You're a real piece of work, you know that? Another metaphor, she asked, her tone tinged with curiosity.
Yeah,
Derek said. It means you're unique. In a good way. Zilra nodded, filing the phrase away along with all the others. Her mission to understand humanity was far from over, but with each new experience, she found herself more intrigued by the chaotic, unpredictable species she had once dismissed as primitive. As the night settled over the city, Zilra found herself on a quiet rooftop, the urban sprawl of Earth glowing below. Derek sat a few feet away, fiddling with a small device, a human gadget meant for entertainment, he'd explained earlier. She watched him with a mix of curiosity and something new, something unfamiliar. You humans possess a peculiar fixation with light and noise, she said finally, gesturing to the illuminated skyline. So many of your constructs pulse and flash. It is as if you fear the absence of stimuli. Derek smirked.
yeah,
We're not big fans of silence. Makes us think too much. Think too much, she repeated, tilting her head. Is excessive thought a flaw in your species? He leaned back, letting out a chuckle. Sometimes. We overthink everything, our lives, our choices, what we said 5 years ago at a party. Silence gives us too much space for all that. Zilra considered this. Fascinating. My race embraces silence. It is where clarity resides, unclouded by the chaos of noise and light. Well, that's the difference, I guess, Derek replied, tossing a pebble over the edge of the rooftop. We thrive in chaos. Her glowing skin shifted to a muted hue as she processed his words. Perhaps, chaos is not entirely without merit. It seems to yield unexpected results. Derek looked at her, a hint of a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. You're starting to get us. Get you? She asked, raising an eyebrow. Understand us, he clarified. You've been here long enough to see we're not all bad. Weird, sure. But not bad. She nodded slowly. Your species has demonstrated resilience and adaptability. And an astonishing capacity for contradiction. Derek laughed.
yeah,
That sounds about right. A moment of comfortable silence stretched between them, broken only by the hum of the city below. Zilra shifted her attention to the small device Derek had been fiddling with. That object, she said. It serves no functional purpose, yet you appear engrossed by it. He held it up, revealing a small holographic screen displaying colorful shapes that moved in a seemingly random pattern. It's a game. For fun. Fun, she repeated, her tone skeptical. Your species expends energy on non-productive activities. Why? Because not everything has to be productive, Derek replied. Sometimes, you just need to relax. Let go for a bit. Zilra frowned. Let go of what? Stress. Expectations. Everything. He handed her the device. Here, try it. She hesitated before taking it, her glowing fingers brushing against his. The device felt warm in her hands, and the screen pulsed with inviting colors. What is the objective? She asked, studying the display. Just move the shapes to match the patterns, Derek explained. It's simple. She attempted to follow his instructions, her brow furrowing as the shapes shifted under her control. Her focus was intense, almost comically so, and Derek couldn't help but grin. "This is unnecessarily complex," she muttered. "Your species has a penchant for creating challenges where none are required." "That's the point," Derek said. "The challenge is the fun." She glanced at him, her expression skeptical but intrigued. "I remain unconvinced." They sat in silence for a while, Zilra engrossed in the game. Derek watched her, noting how her glow fluctuated subtly with her emotions, a flicker of satisfaction when she succeeded, a dimming frustration when she faltered. "You're getting the hang of it," he said after a while. "I am, adapting," she admitted. "Though I fail to see the necessity of such activities." "It's not about necessity," Derek said, leaning back on his hands. "It's about taking a break from necessity. You can't be efficient all the time." She looked at him, her gaze thoughtful. "Your species operates on a curious paradox. You thrive on chaos yet seek moments of respite from it. You create complexity for entertainment yet struggle to manage it in life." "Fascinating."
Yeah.
"We're walking contradictions," Derek said with a grin. "But I think that's what makes us interesting." Zilra set the device down, her glowing fingertips brushing against the rooftop's surface. "I am beginning to understand your species in ways I did not anticipate. There is depth to your contradictions. A kind of beauty, perhaps." "Wow," Derek said, raising an eyebrow. "Was that a compliment?" "An observation," she corrected, though there was a faint softness in her tone. He chuckled. "I'll take it." They sat in silence again, the city's hum a backdrop to their quiet companionship. For the first time, Zilra felt a strange sense of connection, not just to Derek but to the chaos and contradictions of humanity itself. "Your sensory doors," she said suddenly, breaking the silence. "They are not merely physical or technological, are they?" Derek blinked. "What do you mean?" "They are metaphorical as well," she continued. "Pathways to understanding. To connection." He smiled, a genuine warmth in his expression.
Yeah.
"You could say that." Zilra nodded, her glow brightening slightly. "Perhaps my race has overlooked the value of such doors. There is much to be learned from opening them." "Welcome to humanity," Derek said with a chuckle. She tilted her head, her lips twitching in what might have been the beginnings of a smile. "It is less primitive than I expected." "High praise," he teased, raising an imaginary glass. As the night stretched on, Zilra allowed herself to relax, her usually rigid demeanor softening. For the first time, she felt a flicker of something new, something she couldn't quite name but was certain she wanted to explore further. Perhaps, she thought, chaos had its merits after all.